ACL tear exercises. That's what we're going to be covering today on a commentary video showing you what I'm going to be doing 1 week leading up into my surgery. If you didn't already know, tore my ACL 3 weeks ago. Really painful, worst ACL tear I've ever had, considering I've only had two. Long story short, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, tore my left ACL inline skating, rehabbed it all myself. Didn't feel it was that bad because I was able to walk the same day, put a sleeve on, limp around. This time, jumping over the wall, I was in disbelief. I knew something was wrong when it immediately happened. Jumped over the wall again for the second time, and I could not physically put any weight on that leg without the leg shifting. I thought my knee was broken. Someone commented on there, oh, you should have done it a third time. Well, dude, I was in a competition and I knew something was wrong, but in my nature, I don't want to give up. Even though something felt catastrophically wrong, I just needed to be sure, so I jumped over it a second time and I was like, oh, clearly something's wrong. So got the MRI within an hour, got the results, decided to go ahead and get surgery since it is a full tear. And during this time, after, coincidentally, I was able to actually have a follow-up appointment with my orthopedic surgeon. This happened on Saturday, appointment was on Monday, got an MRI within an hour, so I was very adamant about getting all my results and testing done. So we're here and I decided to go ahead and get surgery because it is a full tear. Doing stem cells, I don't have time to wait. That wouldn't have worked just because of the fact with a full tear. Sure, I could have tried it. Maybe it would have healed, but if it's a partial tear and there's strands of that tissue still there, chances are it could work, but I want to get back to full swing snowboarding next year because I'm going to miss it this year. So try not to let this go too long with this intro, but stay tuned today. I'm going to be doing all sorts of exercises from reverse step ups to the ski-erg to stretching my calves, doing some tib curls. And really my goal for today is strengthening my hip flexors and my core, because when your leg is immobile and you can't move it and it's in a cast or a brace and it's stiff, I didn't know, but after my very first surgery, my hip flexors and glutes were getting so sore from having a stiff leg, lifting it and moving it all the way around. So stay tuned today. We're gonna cover a lot of exercises and then I'll close up and wrap up about everything that we covered and what we're gonna be expecting leading up until surgery. Foam rolling. This is one of the most important things I feel you can do when you start your workout. Whether or not I'm doing some dynamic stretching or foam rolling, I do like to begin with either one of these first to help prepare my body for movement. The most or the tightest part of the leg is going to be that IT band. And actually, when you get ACL surgery, because I've had it on my left leg, they actually put the scope through that quad in that area, and it is the most sore. The sorest part of my leg was that. It felt like every day I was kicked on the outside of my thigh. So making sure I spend a little bit of time massaging my legs is really going to help loosen them up. Now, starting off to preface this video, a lot of the exercises in here may or may not work for you. I'm not even suggesting for you to do this. This is just giving you an idea of what you can be capable of. Me massaging my legs, rolling around on here, any one of these movements could potentially tweak your leg, especially if it's injured. So if you have an ACL injury, I would highly recommend speaking with your doctor, your physical therapist, your primary care physician, and they can tell you what to do or what to expect. Now, since I am fairly athletic, I know my body very well and I have a good baseline. So what I am doing may or may not work for you. But I feel that if you have the ability to roll out, to maneuver around, and you can get up and down off the ground easily, then rolling out your legs can be something that you can do. As you can see here, how I'm getting up and down is I actually have to get on one leg very carefully and get myself up and off the ground. You can also see on my leg it's taped up, and I did this about a week and a half after the injury. I probably definitely recommend it not right off the back, but later if you can, because it's kind of like a liquid brace. You're able to move it around very easily. And what I'm doing here is I'm massaging out my shins. I feel that since this kinetic chain of the body gets disrupted by injuring one area, massaging and loosening up other areas gets very important, because my shins all of a sudden are more sore. I'm walking a little bit more funky. So I do have to do this. Now, if you're not able to do something like this, I would use the Hypervolt or a massage gun. But I do very much favor using this double ball. I tell all of my clients that this double ball is probably one of my favorite pieces of equipment. Although I would say I use the foam roller more often, especially just getting on the ground every morning and just rolling out my back and then rolling out my lats a little bit. I probably use them more often because it's simple and easy. This one, it's a workout. The second you start rolling out your glutes here, opening up the body, you're putting a lot of pressure on your hands and your wrists, so your triceps and your shoulders are getting a heck of a workout. Just being down on the ground, foam rolling and massaging the body, you're going to get your core activated a lot. So here I'm slowly just trying to bend this knee. This is actually very tough. Getting my knee to bend at this point in time is super difficult, and we're about 2 weeks from the injury here. I got 1 more week from this video leading up until surgery, so I'm just trying to get as much movement as possible, just trying to get some mobility here, and every day I'm icing my knee, just trying to get some of that swelling and that inflammation to calm down just a little bit. Next, we are moving on to the assault bike. There are days that I start with this first, sometimes I'll start with it second, but since I'm in trauma, I had to do this second because I wanted to massage the muscles and loosen them up and break apart that tissue so I can open them up. Here on the assault bike, I have the seat at level 6. It's good for my height. I'm 5'11". But normally I have the seat adjusted all the way forward, but since this injury, I am having a very hard time bending the knee. So actually I have the seat all the way back, and my foot is basically it's on the heel or middle of the pedal a little bit. I don't quite have the ball of my foot all the way onto the pedal like I would normally push hard with, so I'm trying to give my body as much room as possible to move. But this is very, very important to do. I am just trying to get my knee moving and just get that blood flow and that circulation, especially out of surgery. I don't do this immediately. It probably was day... it was right around the 2-week mark that I was beginning the bike. I didn't do it off the back. If anything, I was trying to ski-erg first because I could still stand on one leg and put a little pressure on my other leg. But the hardest part is trying to get that knee to bend, especially right out of surgery. But right now, we're trying to go forwards and backwards. I'll do this 2 weeks after surgery, starting my physical therapy, and it's really good. You just want to be able to get that knee moving, get blood flow, get circulation, and start regaining some range of motion. I can't say that the ski-erg would be good for everybody that has had an injury, but for me, it's really, really good. Even when I'm putting my weight here, I like having my feet just equal distance apart. I'm putting pressure on both legs here, and as I'm pulling down with my hands, this is actually kind of keeping me balanced. What I do with the ski-erg is I just rotate through a couple of movements. I'm pulling down and I'm bringing the hands out wide. You'll see in the next few clips, I do a staggered stance, putting most of the weight on my left leg. I'll even balance on my left leg. Now, I don't recommend someone just balancing on one leg, because if you lose your balance and you have to plant your other foot, it could sting a little bit. And you'll see all the way at the end of the video, I did just that. I actually planted my right foot wrong and it kind of twinged my leg just a bit. But this is actually my cardio of choice. I use the ski-erg for usually a few minute intervals, but this, I couldn't believe it that this was like the main source of cardio I'll be doing, because I can't push a sled, I can't run, not even off the back in the beginning. I can't even push a sled. Day 7 I did it, but I wouldn't even recommend it for most people. I would probably say that 4 to 6 week mark, but everybody's a little bit different depending on your base. You might be able to do a few different things. So the ski-erg for me works good, and I am really trying to challenge my left leg a lot. So I'm putting the weight on there. A lot of the exercises I'm doing here today, I'm doing some single leg movements because I am going to be relying on this left leg a lot. So while I can still put a little bit more weight on my right leg pre-surgery, I do want to strengthen my left leg as much as possible. Plus, I'm just about at the 9-month mark, which is just insane that I just got surgery on my left ACL this year. So I am just trying to get it as conditioned as I can, because the thing I didn't understand about having surgery is that even being fit, I consider myself kind of fit, that life is actually extremely hard after surgery. You're using all of your weight on one leg, and then even on the leg that you do get surgery with, your surgical leg, that hip and that glute gets so sore. So that's why going into this movement now, I'm using the kettlebell because I want to try and strengthen my hips. This move isn't as much of a core exercise as it is a hip flexor exercise. Now, I am getting a lot of love from my dog Arlo. Oh God, he is the best. He's made my recovery process so awesome, because especially in the early days, laying on the couch in the morning, using a CPM machine, he's there by my side. He just makes life better. So I would recommend anybody getting a golden doodle. Free plug here, 𝘘𝘀𝘀𝗲𝗓𝗏𝗡𝗠𝑑𝑜odles.com. It's where we got Arlo from, 𝘾𝙂𝗎𝗔𝐿𝐴 Farms in Alabama. Where is it, Alabama? Yeah, it was Alabama. So amazing dog, love him to death. But here I'm using an ankle weight. I got 5 pounds on. So actually I have two 2.5 strapped on. I do need to get a little bit of a better ankle weight, but this is really working the hips, just kind of keeping one leg elevated. Actually, I never really did this move until I did physical therapy, and I found it was really, really good for working my hips and legs. This is just about plenty of weight. As you can see, my abs are already cramping up a little bit, but even just 5 pounds, I would be very, very careful. I think if you've never done this before, I would only use just body weight, because body weight can be just plenty when doing this move. You want to be absolutely careful that you don't use too much weight, because you don't want to do anything that kind of tweaks your knee. And everything I did here today, nothing irritated my knee at all. So I feel like my base is a lot stronger, and I even recommend you that if you're not having surgery or you have a good knee and a good ACL, you should do some single leg balance exercises. You should strengthen your hips and your glutes, because heaven forbid something ever happens to you, you want to make sure that your hips are strong, that your glutes are strong, that one of your legs is very strong, because you're going to be relying on one leg. You never know what life has in store for you, and if something happens that you can only have one leg to use for a little while, or you have surgery, or you have a fall, you've got to make sure you're strong as possible. So this is a really good move. Obviously it does work the core, but if you're having a hard time with it, you can keep the other leg down onto the ground, use your hands back, and just lifting that leg up and down is really going to strengthen those hips a ton. And you can see even just getting it up and off the ground is a heck of a workout. Hanging abs. This is one of my favorite ab exercises to do. Now, main reason for doing this is that I really feel my hip flexors, I feel my core, I work my arms, my back, my lats. I'm hitting everything. Now, if you had a torn ACL and you're not super fit, would I recommend this? Probably not. But I've been doing this for a while, ever since one of my first Spartan races in 2016. I got used to hanging, and to this day, when I finish up my workout every week, at least 1 or 2 times during the week, I like to just hang from the bars, do some hanging ab work. Now, whenever you have ACL surgery, your leg's going to be immobile, and you're going to be stiff-legged, lifting that leg up and down, at least for the first few weeks while it's locked in a brace. And you'll feel your hips and your glutes, and they're going to get super tight. So I do like to train and have some hip flexor strength, that like I was doing on the kettlebell beforehand, but also just utilizing the hanging abs, because this is a very difficult and challenging exercise. Now, probably playing it a little bit safer, which I'll actually do later here. I'll use the ab straps if my grip is getting a little fatigued, but I definitely like to try and push it. And here I was doing about 30 reps, and which is pretty challenging for me. I've never really been able to get more than that, but I haven't honestly really tried. So I think that'll be a goal for next year, see if I can increase my reps and increase my grip strength, so it'll make me a little bit stronger. But one of my favorite things to do, just because of the fact that it gives me just that athletic look when you're working your core, hanging from the bars, just working that serratus, those upper abdominals, those finger-like muscles in the abs. Coming into the next movement here, I am doing some arm massage. This is something I started doing a little bit more in 2015 when I had my first elbow injury, because my tricep was so tight. But honestly, it was probably within this past year that I took it more seriously, because of September of last year, I messed up my right elbow a little bit, and I was just trying to overhead press with dumbbells too heavy, tweaked my elbow. So utilizing this double massage ball is probably one of my favorite tools, and it's something super important to do. You've got to make sure that you're massaging your forearms, your triceps, your biceps. I spend a lot of time doing that because of the fact you're using your hands a lot, especially as you're exercising. You're gripping dumbbells, you're hanging from bars, you're doing push-ups. Those muscles in your forearms, they get strained. Sure, they can take up a lot of abuse, but you got to make sure you nurture them. And what I'm doing here is I'm stretching out my wrists and forearms. I hired a parkour coach around that same time in 2016, 2017, and I was trying to learn how to do backflips, and we were doing handstands and all sorts of stuff. But before we ever did anything, we would always warm up our wrists, and I think gymnasts would probably argue
that's equally as important. You're doing the same thing, especially if you're doing front flips and all that. But even if you're not, what if you fall? You're probably going to brace yourself down onto the ground using your hands. Got to make sure your wrists are mobile. Working the glutes. So this is something I've been adding into my routine. I like doing these lateral leg kicks or leg abduction away from the body, just because I get a little bit more of a stretch on the way down using a plate here. Now, when I'm at the gym, sometimes I'll do these while I'm standing up, and I'll definitely feel a lot more core if I want to work my abdominals a little bit more. Sometimes I'll put my hand down onto the ground like you see here. In just a moment, I'm going to raise my hand up and kind of do a little bit of a side plank. I'm just trying to get into a decently comfortable position, but this is going to work the outside of the glute. Little hip, but working the outside of the glutes, and you want that muscle to be strong, especially if you're going to have any kind of knee surgery, leg surgery, or anything, or just even in general. You've got to have your legs as strong as possible. And if it's something that injuries have always taught me with my lower body, your life completely changes. I will probably say this over and over again, that your life will change if you only have the ability to use one leg. So you've got to make sure that your glutes are strong, that your hips are strong. And what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to, kicking the leg up and down, working that glute medius, the outside part of my butt, because when your leg is stiff and it's immobile, lifting that leg up and down can get very challenging. But when I'm using this here, there's no pressure on my knee. You can see the knee is taped up, but I don't have any pressure while I'm putting that weight on top. Now, I wouldn't do it to the inside because that would put a lot more pressure on the knee where it's a little bit more sensitive, and I wouldn't trust my knee to hold itself if I had the weight on the other side. So going into the next move, I am doing the leg extensions. I'm not using any weight, and if you have a torn ACL, like I had talked with my chiropractor before, he doesn't recommend it, just because of the fact that bones can shift. And I think that's the mistake I made on my very first injury, was that I didn't get the surgery and I went 7 years without it. And technically you don't have to get ACL surgery. It goes case by case. But I'm just doing this movement here, kicking my leg, just to kind of get some blood flow into the leg and just kind of loosen it up and see if I can help increase that range of motion just a little bit. Calves, calves, calves. They are some of the most important for ankle mobility. And I say training your calves because the movement of doing your calf raises, you're stretching your Achilles, you're working your shins, your calves, just even balancing on one leg, your shins are working, your anterior tibialis. But having good ankle mobility can help you with a lot of things, just from walking, jogging, running, squatting, lunging, just your basic stuff that you do. Now you can see here, this is actually one of the first moves I got out of physical therapy, was a 2 up, 1 down. Most of the time when I was doing calves, I would either just do a straight single leg or 2-legged, but something that's pretty cool I like, which I use this kind of technique in a lot of other movements like pull-ups and push-ups if anybody's having a plateau or struggling, is I use the weight of 2 legs to help me on the way up, and I do a 1-legged negative. And you're 20 to 30% stronger on the negative, so you're working that leg. Now I'm working my strong leg. I am not doing this on the injured leg. It is too soon. I don't trust putting all my weight on one leg and load bearing, because that weight can shift. The ACL injury here, just 2 weeks from the injury, it's way too soon. I couldn't even really push a sled without feeling it shifting. Generally around that 6-week mark, you can implement more strength training, but having an ACL is a lot different than not. And in this video, I don't have one. So the tape's kind of holding everything together, but my whole goal here is I'm just trying to really work my left leg a lot more. Even after coming out of surgery, I'm going to be putting a lot of weight on my left leg. And I think something that I wasn't prepared for my first surgery was that I was going into it with a good leg. In 2023, my leg was awesome all year, but I knew that maybe in the next 20 years, the bones shifting around a little bit, it was already giving me early signs of arthritis, and I just didn't want to take that chance, which is why I got surgery. Since I am getting surgery, all I'm trying to do is just get as much mobility in the ankle and the calf as I can. So when I had my injury, I was scheduled 3 weeks out for surgery. And so just trying to improve that mobility. These stretches I'm doing here, this dynamic calf stretch and the ankle flexion stretch, probably 2 of the most important stretches I got out of this mobility clinic that I did one time. I did a 2-hour clinic, and I will tell people all the time that being able to stretch your calves, being able to have those ankles move freely will allow you to squat better, run better, walk better, especially as we get older. I feel so many people, I don't care if you want good looking calves or not, which I think is important for the body, but you should do your calf raises. You should train your anterior tibialis, your shins, which we're going to do later in this video, just to have good ankle mobility. So as you get older, you're not just shuffling your feet, you're actually taking good steps, and you want to be able to move. You want to be able to have good strides while you're running. You want to be able to walk in control, and also you want to be able to have pain-free ankles and your shins. So if you're regularly stretching them and massaging them, like here I'm doing the single leg calf raise, just really trying to work that one leg, get that time under tension. Your mobility is going to improve a lot, because especially one of the most important moves for longevity is a deep squat, just being able to squat. And if you have good ankle mobility, you'll be able to squat very well. So nurture your ankles, do your stretches, work your calves, just to make sure you can move really well while you're walking. Coming back, we are doing some more abs. Now this time I'm gonna go ahead and use the ab straps. I love doing, like I said, the hanging ab movements. They're super helpful and beneficial. Now, not necessarily are they the ones that I feel my abs the most. I just like them because I feel they just kind of give my body that total athletic look. They bring about the complete package. If you can't do hanging abs, using the ab straps is a good way to get started. And also, just utilizing these ab straps, you're able to engage those lats. I tell everybody to build that superhero physique for men or for women, that hourglass figure, just having that nice shape. You want your lats, you want your delts to pop out a little bit wider up top. That's going to help accentuate and make your waist look a little bit smaller. Men, women, I want to train the glutes. I want to make my butt and my hips a little bit bigger. Just because not only does I feel that it looks better, but also as you get older, heaven forbid if you fall, your hips are going to be a lot stronger. And then again, just having a strong core in general is important. I think in bodybuilding, some people that naturally have a smaller waist, they may not train their core as much, but I like to do it because it gives your body a little bit more athleticism. You can do more things, and having a strong core is the center of all your power and your energy. So doing the hanging abs, it allows you to do it, some movements a little bit longer, so your grip doesn't fatigue as much, although you're going to feel it in your lats and shoulders a little bit, but it allows you to rotate. You can go side to side, and like I said before, that serratus, those little finger-like muscles on the rib cage area, it's going to give you that because you're rotating, you're twisting a lot differently, and it's going to just challenge your core in a different way. I might prefer a reverse crunch if I'm just looking to get a good contraction in my abdominals. But if I want to work the whole complete core, I like any kind of leg raises and hanging leg raises because I'm suspended and I'm twisting and I'm able to move my core in many different directions. Single leg extensions. So now I think my legs are pretty much almost the same size now. It took an injury on my right leg for this to happen, but I've naturally had pretty decent quads, and I will say that because I was a fat kid growing up. I skated, I biked my fat butt everywhere, so my quads naturally developed. But also I was doing a huge bodybuilding routine in my 20s, and now that I'm 40, I just hadn't had to train directly my quads as much, but ever since having ACL surgery, my quads shrunk a little bit, and I didn't like that. So I like having nice, strong, big legs, just having that athletic look, because it keeps me feeling powerful. I like the way my jeans fit and feel, and I just like it. And also just naturally having a good set of legs and having my leg having my legs have shrunken or whatever. Since I had my surgery, I didn't like that, so I had to really work hard to bring them back up. And so I've implemented a lot of leg extensions. I'll be honest, in the past decade, I really hadn't had to do them a lot because I would do my split squats, my regular squats, my lunges, and they would get hit pretty good. But after having surgery, you have to almost go back to the drawing board and rebuild your body a little bit. So all the things that I took for granted, I say all the things I took for granted, really just having a nice set of quads, because like I said, when I was younger, I was skating and biking a lot, especially skating, and being 220 something pounds as a young teenager and super fat, almost a 38-inch waist, out of shape. You're gonna build some good quads like that, especially running around and things like that. I played soccer growing up, but so I'm just doing the good leg here. I will never do leg extensions on the bad leg, and honestly they never even felt right when I did have my ACL tear because of the fact that bone is shifting around, and especially if you're putting a lot of direct load and weight on the leg without an ACL, you can cause some premature shifting. You may not even notice it, and honestly I didn't even notice the bones were shifting around until I saw my orthopedic surgeon and he actually pulled on it. So you just want to be careful about that. Single leg press. Now, I've always enjoyed using a single leg press. Over the years, I would probably use more suspension training, like doing suspension squats, single leg squats. But ever since I had my ACL tear, even the first time, I'd always feel this little click in my knee. And even now on my right leg, just before I get surgery, that click is even, the little flap, it feels like a little flap of tissue moving around in there. Doesn't feel good. But I've always wanted to be able to do single leg squats, and I got that ability to do it. But ever since I had my surgery, I hadn't been able to, and it just didn't feel as good. So I was actually able to do them on my right side, but then after I tore my knee up, did not feel good. So I like using the single leg press a ton because early in my career, I did way too much two-legged presses, and I really didn't understand that I was actually building imbalances early. So before I turned, or just as I turned 30, I was very concerned about symmetry. Even Frank Zane, my favorite bodybuilder of all time, he has this book called Symmetry, and I loved it because it really talked about bringing symmetry and detail to the body. And in bodybuilding that's important, but also just in life, I want my body parts to be even. So I do like doing a single leg press, single leg movements, at least at this stage of my life. Even as I enter my 40s now, I just turned 40, I want my body parts to be even. And now some movements, like if I'm doing some rows and pull downs, I may do two arm movements on some, but I do like to do a lot of single sided movements just because I can individually work each part of the body. And doing the single leg press here, I'm able to work my one leg under control and help prepare the other leg for surgery so I can be strong on one leg moving around. Out of all the exercises we do in life, the reverse step up, if you have stairs, these reverse step ups, or they were probably one of the most crucial moves I was doing before my first ACL surgery. And honestly, I was doing them just because I watched Ben Patrick, the knees over toes guy, and he has his ATG checklist for how to have the best, strongest knees. And I got this exercise from him, and I started doing it. Little did I know, the day out of surgery, I was like, wow, I am taking these steps, and this is the movement you do when you go down steps. We have two flights, pretty, I won't say large, but yeah, two decent flights of stairs in our house, and I am taking steps every day, which I really felt helped me through my rehab and surgery, because every morning and every night I would walk up those steps, even with a torn ACL. Day one was the hardest because I had to kind of hop and use the railings, but day two I was taking the steps. Now it took me a while because especially after the first couple weeks, it took me at least a couple weeks before I can even start bending my right knee a lot. But I will tell you what, you need to master this movement. Start with even one plate, use body weight. Now, if you're feeling some sort of pain or discomfort, you need to start, obviously always see a doctor or a therapist or someone that can help you, but do some mobility in the legs so that way you can, become pain-free. But this movement is great. You can use one step, doing body weight when you're able to increase the height, and then you can, use a little bit more weight with the dumbbells. And of course, I will always say I love my dog Arlo. He is the best. Just having him around, it's a blessing. What I get to do here in my studio, I get to help people train and get in better shape. And having Arlo around, oh man, he just makes life better. He's 6 years old. I can't get enough of him. He's super sweet, and I like having videos of him even when I'm doing workouts and things like that because, I hate even thinking or talking about it. I know he won't be here forever. And I want him to be 30. I want him to be at least 30 years old. I don't know if that'll happen. But he's the best dog ever. He's my first and only dog, and I just like creating these memories with him. Single leg RDLs on the Smith. Now, I don't do these all the time. A lot of times when I'm feeling my best, I will do these with dumbbells or barbells. But Even with my clients recently, as I go through my path in working out, I'm not saying all of the exercises I do for myself are the best, but within my studio, I only have so much equipment. So a lot of times to keep the workouts interesting, I like to, mix it up. But obviously this is something really good because I can work my hamstrings really well. Over the years, like I don't do too many hamstring curls and leg extensions, but ever since surgery and rehab, I have been doing more isolated movements. But I like this single leg Smith RDL because I can work my one leg safely. And I really feel my glutes when I'm doing this on one leg, working the hamstrings. And it's a safer way to do a single leg RDL without worrying about the balance component. Now, the biggest benefit to doing this movement is the balance component. But again, I have an injury right now. I can't risk losing my balance and stepping off with one leg. I may do body weight, bird dogs, aka single leg RDLs. The bird dog just doesn't have weight, but utilizing the Smith allows me to train my one leg, work my hamstrings, work my glutes without risk of losing my balance. So it keeps me in a steady position and I can get a heck of a lot of work in my core as well. Tib curls. I've probably only been doing this movement for the past year. Training my shins is something that I never really thought about. In all honesty, a decade ago in 2014, I was reading an article on T Nation that if you want to make your calves look bigger, you can train your shins. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll train my shins. But I didn't understand the purpose or the reasoning behind it. It was very short-lived. I think I did it for about a couple of months. I would put my foot on a foam roller, get a cable machine, attach my foot around the cable, work each leg individually. And it just took too long and I just kind of gave up. But also, when I was younger, I would have shin splints. And being a lot heavier and I was a fat kid trying to run and get in shape, it was putting a lot of pressure on my legs. And your shins, they're responsible for your vertical balance, standing and balancing. And when you're running, the impact that when you plant your foot onto the ground, your shins get fired up. And if you have too much weight on the body, you can feel the shin splints or that pain or that pressure. So training your tibs, your anterior tibialis, super important. You want strong shins because again, that's going to give you strong knees. And it just strengthens that whole kinetic chain. When you have strong shins, you have good ankle mobility, you have strong calves, strong thighs, quads. It makes life easier. And I feel why I was able to recover so well, in which I am praying, name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen, praying that I have a good second surgery as well, is because my base is very good. So like I said in the beginning of the video, these are exercises that work really well for me. Even having a torn ACL, this still feels good. And I will say like day 6 or 7 out of surgery, I just wanted a good stretch in my shin because it was so tight. And so having strong shins it's gonna, help with your vertical balance and stability. But also, being able to go for a run or for a jog, and maybe you might roll your ankle. Well, if you have strong shins, and you stretch your ankles and you actually on purpose, maybe without your shoes, put your feet sideways on a balance pad, you will stretch them. And as you're strengthening and stretching them, it'll help you prevent from having any kind of tear or an injury if you ever roll your foot. The Nautilus glute drive. Oh man, when I went to my brother's and him and his wife's their wedding shower in Connecticut this year, I went to a gym called Iron House Fitness, and oh my God, I used the Nautilus glute drive for the very first time. And for the past 4 or 5 months, I was hooked, and I was always looking and searching. And thank God, I found a cool spot in North Carolina, and I was able to get a Nautilus glute drive. This machine is awesome. I love it the best. I mean, there's other machines that I've used, and I don't want to put other people down, so I will just talk about the Nautilus glute drive. I love it. Now, I probably could put weight on 2 legs, and I've tried. If I was going to safely do hip thrust without any weight, I would do it body weight, but I want to make my glute as strong as possible. I want to hammer this left leg, especially leading up into surgery, because I'm going to be using that left leg only for a few days, or at least the first week, a lot more. And so I just wanted to be able to handle the pressure. And I say this over and over again. That's something I didn't realize when I got surgery the first time, is how much more you're using that one leg. So again, I'm just trying to keep my glutes here pumped up, working them individually, and you just got to be careful when you're getting in and out of this machine so you don't hurt yourself. But strengthening your glutes, they're the powerhouse of the body. Lastly, we're going to wrap up this workout with some isolated single leg hamstring curls. As I'm moving around, you got to be very careful. The lateral movements here is what can get you. And I'll show you a little clip. I actually got a little zap at the end of this, but live and learn. So I am using this machine. I haven't actually used this machine a ton. We've had it in our studio, geez, probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. I got in this place in 2017, but I don't think we got this till maybe around the pandemic or so, around 2020. And honestly, I hadn't used it as much, but I'm using it a lot more. I didn't like it in the beginning, just because of the fact when you pull your leg down, there's like no resistance at the top. So I think they didn't do a good job engineering this machine. Well, I'm not saying that. The cool thing about it is you can work each leg individually. It gives you a little bit of room where I can keep, as you can see, my bum leg, my right leg, which is injured. I can keep it off of there. But what I did recently, I was just kind of thinking about it and working with another client, and I attached a band to where the weight loads on and to the bottom. So now I get a good contraction at the top and then especially at the bottom. Because most of the movements I do, I like to get that squeeze and that contraction. You know, you build muscle through the eccentric movement, the negative, the concentric, the contraction. Sometimes people can even argue it's more important and you build a lot more muscle working eccentric, which is true, but I do like to get that squeeze. I like to flex the muscle. And so as I'm, you know, working this single leg movement here, I have that band, so now I can get a good contraction at the top of the movement here. But again, working the hamstring, it's super important to work hamstrings, work the back of the legs. You know, they're that antagonist muscle. They're the opposite muscle that helps support your quads. So especially in running and sprinting, you know, 70%, I think, you know, 70% of all movement when it comes to walking and running is generally quad dominant. But you know, when you are sprinting and running and, you know, doing things quicker, your hamstrings are equally as important. And then also, too, you want to work the back side of the body. Too many times we get focused on just what we see in the front, and it's super important that you work everything on the rear because muscles on the back side of the body complement the front. And then you'll see here, I'll show you this clip. I accidentally kind of tweaked my knee a little. Oh, I know. It was a little and I just made this little lateral movement too sharp too soon, and it didn't feel good. But we were here. We got in a great workout. Got the legs working, did a lot of mobility and stretching. I didn't film all the stretching after this that I did. I just wanted to focus on the exercises. But, you know, I really hope you enjoyed some of this. So I will wrap up and close the video, and hope you enjoyed it.
Woo, a lot of exercises. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you watching. If you watched this whole video, thank you so much. Please, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be posting a lot of content here on rehabbing my knee. I'm going to do a better job of it. I had an opportunity the first time using a little bit of TikTok and doing some short form content. I thought that was going to be the way, but you know, I did an okay job, and I still have a lot of footage I haven't released. But you know, I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like God's given me another opportunity because yes, I'm having surgery again, and this is painful, and it was a miserable experience, but I get a second chance to share this with the world and do it better this time. So, you know, I love my videographer, Sam. He just had a baby boy, George. I wish him and his family the best, but he's not going to be able to help me film as much. I got a couple of dates scheduled after surgery for him to come and film and follow up. It's a little bit easier, but I'm going to do the best dang job I can. So excuse some of the quality of my videos. I've got an older camera. Sometimes the lens works out great. The other day I was in my studio. I was like, oh man, that doesn't matter as long as I'm getting the content out, because part of my struggle in life is trying to be perfect, and I know nothing can be perfect, and I want the quality of my videos to be well so you can have a pleasant viewing experience. But anywho, we're here. So yeah, we did the ski erg today. I was trying to get cardio. Believe it or not, this is going to be the best thing I find to help me get my cardio in initially. You know, I just used the assault bike. I used it today here, and it felt good just because I have a very hard time bending the knee off the back, but I think 2 weeks after surgery, my very first time having surgery, I was able to get a little extra, you know, mobility in the leg by pedaling. But just being able to stand up, I could stand on one leg, balance on one leg, use the ski erg. So it's a great way off the back. It's kind of like my main source of cardio. And then I think it was like day 7 or 13 when I did have my surgery. I didn't want to do it today because trying to do the sled, the prowler, pushing it back and forth because I still felt like my knee could pop out. It's about 2 weeks in since the injury and feeling good, but I just have it taped. I'm not trying to make any strength gains. I'm just trying to get flexibility, get more mobility, and just a little get my leg used to having those hips strengthened, because that main thing I felt I accomplished today was doing those lateral leg kicks, those leg abductions, moving the leg away from the body, and then working the core, lifting my leg over the kettlebell, using that ankle weight, just to strengthen my hips a little bit more, because when my leg's immobile and it's in that brace and all wrapped up, it's all hips. I'm not putting any weight on that leg. Yeah, quite the journey, but you know, again, I feel I have this opportunity to share this experience with you. So if you know someone that's struggling with knee pain, had an ACL injury, had a meniscus surgery, meniscus tear, I've got 2 meniscus tears. They're going to be able to clean it up. It probably won't, it's not getting repaired unless I was a lot younger, because there's not as much blood flow that goes through that area. And so getting the allograft, one of those, the one where I'm using the cadaver tissue, I got to be a little bit more careful initially, but I just didn't want to take some of my own tissue and do the autograft. I think that's what it is, because I didn't want to disrupt any kind of success I'm already having with my body. I think when you're younger you could do that, but anyways, that was my own personal choice. So again, the only thing I'm asking for, God, is please let this tissue take like it did the last time, and just allow me to walk and have a speedy recovery. After I had the surgery the first time, day 2, I was walking. That's all I want. I want to be able to walk, want to be able to have a great rehab, putting in a lot of time and effort to make sure I have a good rehab. And hopefully, if you're watching this video, that, you know, through my struggle and through my adversity, you can benefit from it. I feel things could have been a lot worse, so ultimately I feel grateful that I am not in more pain. I could have broken my ankle. I had a client that broke his tibia fibia, had a bad fall at Stone Mountain and just completely broke the crap out of it, and had a very extensive rehab, couldn't really walk. I was very fortunate with an ACL and 2 meniscus tears. Same thing happened on my right knee. I was able to walk second day out of surgery, and that's all I want. Could have had something more extreme happen, could have lost my leg. So again, I feel I'm blessed, and I'm gonna be able to share this experience with you, and hopefully you don't have to go through some of the pain I did. But again, goal for today was just strengthen those hips and strengthen my core a little bit, get a little bit of cardio. I might be lucky to get this workout in one more time before surgery, and I'm gonna share with you another video of what it's like to have a, well, not what it's like to have an MRI, I already have that video, but what an MRI of your knee and meniscus is like, and you could see how bad my tears were. And then after that, I'm gonna have a little vlog style, hopefully, of going into the surgery center. Probably can't film too much there, and I'm gonna try and film some content coming out of it, and then what I'm gonna be doing going forward with my rehab. And if this can help you along in your journey, don't feel alone, don't feel scared, because things in life could always be worse. So things that I try and, you know, tell myself or pray to God when I'm feeling a little anxious or depressed or sad is that I have water to drink, I have food to eat, I have a place to sleep, air to breathe, and just being thankful for the basic necessities of life. And then lastly, I have a body that can function and move well, and I'm not in any pain or have any kind of sickness, disease, or illnesses, as far as I know. So I pray for good health, and that's it. And sometimes we take for granted the basic necessities we have in life. And I think that's my takeaway for me, and as well as for you, is that just being thankful for what we already have, because, you know, just always know that someone might have it worse than you do. So again, thank you for watching. Appreciate you being here, and I can't wait to see you checking out the next video.